the nice. Now we are in record mode. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Miriam, for the nice introduction and for the invitation. So, I'm Jean-Philippe, JP, simpler, call me JP if you will. I work for CEA in France, but most of my activities are oriented towards European projects, and in particular, including a number of duties and activities with ETP4HPC Association, where I am vice chair of the association. And recently I've also been elected as chair of EU HPC Research and Innovation Advisory Group, which is quite a responsibility, but an honor and a very exciting perspective as well. Today, what I will try to do, because I'm not so far, of course, I know a lot about EuroCC, CASTIEL, and the national competence centers, but I'm not directly involved in interaction activities related to your project or projects. So what I did is a three-part of presentation. We can fly over some parts depending on your degree of familiarity with certain aspects. I will try to focus more on the third part. Now, typically, I would do a quick reminder of ETP4HPC because there might be a number of interesting information to be shared with you, maybe repeated if you have already had insights on ETP4HPC or other presentations, but there might be updated stuff, so I will try to go fast here. We'll do some quick ecosystem vision. Well, maybe I won't bring any deep extra information for you here, but I might deliver a couple of message or personal visions of a number of things to go to the point, which is to try to give you some hints, information on what I see and I'm so sorry, sincere apologies. My laptop went totally crazy, and at the same time, the other workstation I had set up was arbitrarily rebooted by Windows. You know, sometimes shit happens. Okay, let's move forward. This is an incentive for me to really go quickly through the introductory part. So ETP4HPC, you may be aware of, is an independent association, which actually is an industrial think tank to promote European HPC research and innovation in the wider sense. And this is at the service of Europe's competitiveness, etc., etc. We have a strong focus on technologies. And when I say technology, think hardware and software. This is, you just cannot separate both aspects. They are always closely related. And more generally, we really want to help developing a complete, vibrant, comprehensive HPC ecosystem all along the value chain. So we started with 15, we are now around 120 members from many countries. What is interesting, and I wanted to emphasize, and that we have roughly two-thirds of three different thirds of members. That's research organizations, large companies, European or sometimes non-European, and SMEs. And it's roughly one-third. And also, very interestingly, when we say we are focusing on technology, it's actually a mix of many different profiles, like you can see here on the bottom right. We have vendors and technology suppliers, but not only. We have computing centers, we have service providers, we have entities which are advanced users. We have ISVs, etc. And sometimes, if not often, our members have different hats. So, for instance, my organization can be considered as, well, having or being some kind of computing center. We have computing centers. We are a research organization. We do co-design technology development. We do develop and use applications. So we may have different colors or flavors of this all. And this is something very interesting and which makes part of the value of this association. A quick snapshot, maybe not fully up to date, of our members, but you can easily find it on the web. As a quick reminder, we do develop mainly so-called strategic research agenda, which is a set of state-of-the-art recommendations regarding R&D, which is supposed to be relevant in Europe for HPC. For this, we have specific recurring or ad hoc working groups. We are a private member of EU HPC, together with Dairo and Quick. So we are more the HPC people in the generic sense. Dairo is more big data oriented. Quick is quantum computing oriented. We have seats at the Research and Innovation Advisory Group of EU HPC. So we bring those elements of our strategic roadmap to EU HPC through this channel. And we produce a number of things in addition to the SRA, white papers, handbook of projects. So we come back to that. And I will briefly remind also what we do, the so-called Trans Continuum Initiative. Alors, stay tuned on that. We are in the process of finalizing a new strategic research agenda. Number 5 already, because it's every 2 years, and since the association has roughly 10 years, we are about to finalize the number 5, the 5th edition of our strategic research agenda. More to come soon. Maybe very practical information that may be of interest for you is we are developing, with the support of European projects in particular, a so-called handbook of European HPC projects, and we try to maintain this. So until now, we've been doing that yearly as a online PDF version or printed version. And very recently, we turned it into a fully digital online resource. So now it's a website which can be constantly updated and maintained up to date. So I strongly encourage you to take a look, to provide feedback. This is one new. We are very interested in feedback of people users. We want it to be a tool useful for the whole European HPC community. And it's supposed to be a comprehensive catalog of course, EU HPC, but also all past or sometimes still running or finished or almost finished Horizon 2020 projects. So it's dozens of projects we've tried to organize in an online database with some filters, etc. So first, it's probably a good resource at some point for some of you for different reasons. And please don't hesitate to provide feedback. We would be happy to improve the tool if necessary. Okay. Well, we take seriously different topics in addition to the generic, I would say, R&D overview and recommendations, like developing the wider ecosystem, not only technologies, education and training. Not we have a work group on this. I'm contact point for that. We are a partner of the recently launched EU Master for HPC, led by University of Luxembourg, and we think it's a very, very good project. We are very happy to try to contribute to it. Maybe helping to bring industry, some industrial partners closer to academia in this new European master. We are very keen to develop, help, contribute to considering industrial use of HPC, and we have a specific work group for that. We organize a number of webinars, by the way, on that. We have a new work group on sustainable HPC, to mention the main ones, okay? And of course, we have also a strong focus on SMEs from supplies to use all along the value chain. And in our opinion, this is probably the most tricky topic of them all in some way. Well, quick advertisement. Yeah, if you're interested in industrial use of HPC, we have a nice coming seminar. The next one, our next webinar will be in June. In the sector of aerospace with very important players like Onera, Airbus, and DLR, and they will talk about their view of collaborative development of their next generation CFD solvers. So if you're interested, it's absolutely open. It will be on June 10. Everything available online regarding how to register, etc. So, well, this is an example of the reflections we want to develop regarding education and training, and in particular in relation with EU Master for HPC. Okay. So, as a quick intermediate conclusion on this part, on a reminder of ETP4HPC, our association, it's kind of club, very open. It's a good place to be for networking, to have some, I would say, privileged access to information, especially when it comes to EU HPC. It's open anytime. Some of you may, your organization may be members already or not. Becoming member is always an option. It's fully open anytime. But we have a lot of available resources which are public, and you don't need to be a member to have access to that. It's for the benefit of the community, of the ecosystem, and we are open to discussing with you, even if you are not members. And if you have any idea, I mean, at the level of the national competence centers or UOCC in general, if you have ideas on how to improve our interaction with ETP4HPC, tell us. We are open to dialogue anytime. Well, that was my quick first part. I don't know if you have any question already, or if you want to open a couple of questions. It's up to you. Tell me, or else I will move forward and we'll make another intermediate break before final questions anyway. Okay.
So I see no questions in the chat, and I see
Okay.
nobody unmuting, so I think we can continue.
Let's move forward. Part 2. Well, quick ecosystem considerations. Right. This again, probably not new to you, but maybe an opportunity for me to give to deliver a couple of messages or give a couple of more specific, sometimes personal viewpoints. The basic vision we have, ETP4HPC, typically is this one. Very, very basic, a classical, traditional three-pillar vision. And we insist a lot on value chain vision, value chain. This is all about value and at the end, competitiveness we must develop and foster at many different levels. And the ultimate goal is applications for the benefit of science competitiveness, industry competitiveness, and to tackle societal challenges. And for this, the rest is, I would say, tools or resources, infrastructures, technologies. But we consider very important to have a real comprehensive, holistic vision of this all in Europe. And this is really what ETP4HPC is trying to do, to foster, to contribute to. So this is a very basic, simplistic, classical view for sure. If you deep a little more into that, yeah, technologies, hardware plus software, up to what we could call solutions to solve problems. So we need to put those solutions, machines, technology into infrastructures. Infrastructures, typically, it's computing centers, can be public, can be private, can be cloud service providers, or a mix of this all. It's about cycles for sure, but what does matter is how you offer service and expertise around the cycles. This forms really a whole. It's not only providing cycles and machines and access to machines. It's clearly a question of centers of competency. Computing centers are some kinds of centers of competency in our vision. And applications, it's also a very rich pillar, like it's, of course, scientific groups or communities developing, using, exploiting codes, okay? But it's also about independent software vendors, which are very important players in relation with industrial users in general. Industrials of all sizes, from, I would say, very large to much smaller companies. Well, this is very general. And of course, the vision is not so simple and linear. This is the kind of stuff we are used to presenting, like my friend and colleague Florian Berberich from Price did still recently during your HPC Summit Week. We had a presentation here by Florian. These pieces, these pillars of the chain are of course, in interaction at different levels. I won't go into many details, but it's about infrastructure people need to do technology work, they prototype, experiment. Sometimes computing centers are early adopters of new technologies, and this is good. Applications need to be aware of technology. They need to adapt, anticipate adaptation of the codes. We can talk to code design, which is a tricky notion, by the way. I won't go into details, but that can be some kind of interlock between applications and technologies. Which are good for anticipating code evolutions. Infrastructure have to deliver good support to the application. Sometimes they co-develop, they help optimizing, they help adapt application, etc., etc. So this is more tricky, more complex than simply the linear vision of the value chain. Okay. If we take a quick look back to, let's say, the last 10, 12 years of HPC in Europe, remember, PRACE started in 2010 as some kind of pan-European infrastructure, offering a lot of things. Like we said, beyond cycle, it was about support, training, technology was very rich set of services that PRACE developed and still offering. Now, PRACE is clearly an association of countries that offer to pool resources or to share, exchange, pool resources without specific EU support at the equipment level. The EU support for PRACE project was at the service, I would say, and support level. Okay. Then came ETP4HPC because we were lacking some kind of more technology focus. I would say PRACE was doing some technology watch, but we needed something more structured on the technology side, and this has been ETP4HPC. And then we had a first program with quite a global vision on HPC that was called a public-private partnership, PPP, starting 14 with Horizon 2020. Actually, it lasted only 4 years, but it was an opportunity to have some better structured programs in terms of HPC R&D. And PRACE was not directly part of that, but we had good collaboration with PRACE, the infrastructure part, and ETP4HPC, which eventually covered technology and applications involving the centers of excellence that had started in 2015 at this time. Then came EU HPC. So in a way, EU HPC can be seen as a tentative synthesis, I would say, between all those aspects, infrastructure, etc., technology, as some kind of overarching entity. And so you know that started in 2018 with the Commission and many participating states, and it was organized in 2 main pillars, and was, I would say, considering some kind of pre-exascale catch-up, equipment catch-up in Europe, because we were a bit lagging behind after 10 years of PRACE in terms of level of available resources altogether in Europe. And then 21 was some kind of EU HPC reloaded with the new framework program, but same kind of organization with small differences. So typically, EU HPC phase 1 was roughly organized into 2 big pillars, infrastructure and operations on the one hand, and all the rest in this so-called RNI or RLI and applications and skills pillar. That was a bit, I would say, complicated or a bit too rough and not maybe readable enough in terms of organization. So the reason why in EU HPC phase 2 there was a reflection and some, in my opinion, better breakdown of the different aspects, the different stakes, the different necessary activities, which eventually can be presented like this is a presentation from last September by Leonardo Flores from DigiConnect. But this is typically the way now your HPC is organizing and presenting things, and it's a better vision, in my opinion, because it's not only infrastructure, technologies, and applications, but there is a real consideration, and this is very important, about widening usage and skills and federation and services and I think it's a better vision because it shows the interaction between the pillars, and it helps better identify the necessary actions and support to a number of very important aspects like education and training, expanding usages, support to SMEs for having access to HPC, developing competencies, etc., etc. So I think it's a progress. Okay. So then, if you take our chart of the ecosystem, you can easily put the known elements like PRACE still on the infrastructure side and HPC more or less taking over. We have things like more federated approaches to resources, to infrastructure, like Phoenix. Well, I won't go into detail. ETP4HPC is a permanent entity helping structure the technology part with, according to the phase, a number of calls for projects and projects on technologies and applications. Applications, I won't give the detail of centers of excellence, but you know that. etc. And here we are, widening usage and skill. The good side was the opportunity to have EU HPC specific projects and significant support to centers of competence. But we have also interesting projects like Fortissimo, the more or less number 4 of a long successful series started already in Horizon 2020, if not in FP7, I don't even remember, but you know about latest version of Fortissimo as well. And your Master for HPC on education and training aspects. Okay, well, you know that. But to finish this second quick part, I would say the going back very quickly to what we mean by HPC and the ETP4HPC vision, and it's clearly also my personal vision, is the following. We have something like a hierarchy of scales of approaches to HPC. And for us, and for many people, it's quite natural. HPC is quite a generic set of technologies and methodology to tackle a number of problems in simulation, in machine learning, in big data, etc., etc. And we have extreme computing, or supercomputing, which is the leading edge anytime, big supercomputers, soon exascale, etc. But it's extremely important that we have a wider, broader, richer ecosystem, and extreme computing cannot live alone by itself as a niche. It has to rely and be connected on a more global and wider ecosystem. And it's very important to have the continuity of extreme to mid-range to more pervasive computing. And we tend to call HPC everything that can fit into those different levels. HPC is something like as long as you go beyond commodity. And it can be extremely wide. You can have things in the cloud, you can have things at the edge, you can have also embedded systems we can consider are using HPC because they have dense compute or data processing elements inside. This is HPC technology and methodology. And it's extremely important to have this because only having this kind of rich and long living sustainable ecosystem, only at this condition can we hope to have sustainable, successful technology and usages. Now, this is our credo, at least. Okay, so we have really this vision of HPC, something extremely wide and generic. It is really clearly pushed to the limits and frontiers anytime by extreme supercomputing, but extreme computing cannot live alone by itself. It has to be connected to a wider ecosystem. Okay? And this is in particular the reason why ETP4HPC developed this Trans-Continuum initiative you may have heard of, which is basically talking with other associations or initiatives in the area of European IT. So it's about 5G, Internet of Things, big data, value, cybersecurity, math, like through this EU Math in network and association. It's also with IPIC. So you may have heard of that. It was presented, I think, to you or colleagues during a previous NCC workshop. If you want to learn more, it's easy to ask us or go to our website to take a look at the resources we have. This TCI clearly was an opportunity not to develop new SRAs or yet another SRA or whatever. No, it was rather an opportunity of having a nice dialogue in the wider ecosystem of the European IT and work on those concepts of really connecting technologies or making HPC technologies as, I would say, widespread and useful as possible in all possible areas, and to go with, to accompany this expansion of uses. And this is mutual benefit. HPC can claim having a wider, say, market or area of outcomes on the one hand, and I would say on the usage side, people can have maybe better access, vision, or better awareness of HPC possibilities. Voilà. We can spend many more hours on this topic because the ecosystem is something still much more complex, because we could talk how this all relates, for instance, to a wider vision, European vision of European Open Science Cloud, not to mention Gaia-X. but this would go way beyond what we could and want to tell today. But this can be a topic of discussion for those who are interested, and in particular in our TCI context. End of my part 2. Any specific intermediate questions again?
I am checking the chat and seeing if any participants have their hand raised. I think Marie-Françoise has her hand raised.
Yes. So to give the participants some time to think about the questions and all this very interesting content. I have 2 questions. First one would be, you mentioned the SRA, so the Strategic Research Agenda. Could you please?
After rewinding, I have to move forward, to re-forward. Yeah, last part. Okay. So I took the perspective of trying to comment a little bit on the EU HPC context as far as I know and understand it. And this is the limit of my competencies, to be fully honest. Okay, I will try to give you a few more hints on what we see from ETP4HPC, but then I will go to commenting current and future, if not recent, EU HPC projects, and see or give you a few hints on where maybe there could be an interest for you as NCC people, and what are maybe the gaps or difficulties or things that could probably be improved by extra dialogue, in particular with ETP4HPC, since we have this connection to your HPC through the RIAG and other channels. So I won't comment on NCCs, Fortissimo, Price Shape program, all things that are really meant to help expand usages of HPC, because you know that better than I do. I know that, but you are better experts of that for sure. And this is clearly for the use side of HPC. So the question is, what else and what would be coming next, following up or strengthening this kind of stuff? So honestly, again, as a disclaimer, I can give you some EU HPC oriented highlights, and this is really the limit of what I can do. ETP4HPC and SMEs, like I said, a majority of our members are SMEs, but of course, because we are more, I would say, technology oriented, this is mostly, not only, but mostly rather on the technology supply side, okay? In the wider sense of hardware, software, services, of course. For that, what we do basically in our association is sharing information with our members, fostering networking, etc. We try to do different things to help our SMEs, our members, that they talk during webinars. They are visible in events like ISC. For instance, we have booth at ISCs, and we host for free a selection of SME members of the ETP each time. And they are very happy with that because it gives them opportunities to be more visible. But this is not much. We would like to do more, but it's really very difficult. We've considered, for instance, through a working group on SMEs, could we provide more customized support and guidance to our SMEs, our members, regarding funding opportunities, EU instruments, because we clearly observed that it's very difficult for small companies sometimes to be aware or to spend time or to have enough time and competencies to be up to date and aware about all the possibilities and opportunities of instruments, of projects that are developed in Horizon Europe, in the general sense, and not only EU HPC. So this is very difficult, and we've considered doing this kind of stuff, but honestly, we've not been so successful in that. But that's one aspect. Another aspect we've considered but not been able to really develop so far, but we could reconsider this, is we consider the EU HPC projects are not so friendly to SMEs in general. It's not so easy for SMEs to participate. So I will give you a few examples of what we have observed, and we are really we have reflection on how could we do better or suggest projects that would be more SME friendly, but it's not so easy or clear. So let me give you a few examples. And again, you can refer to the handbook I was showing for that. And again, do not hesitate to take a look at it. Here are a number of SMEs. It's an arbitrary selection, but of SMEs which are members of ETP4HPC and that were partners or are partners in your HPC projects. And if you take a quick look, of course, since we are a technology-oriented association primarily, what we observe is our technological SMEs are relatively well inserted and are participating in a number of projects. So E4 computer engineering company, cluster integrator, vendor in Italy is participating in a European Processor Initiative in UPEX pilot cluster project. We have semiconductor companies, the fabless designer, I would say, chip designers like Semi Dynamics in Spain, Cyper, Calais, in European Processor Initiative in particular. We have 2CRSI, which is it's more than a SME, I would say. It has become bigger now, but it started as a SME. There are cluster designers and taking part in another pilot, I would say, of your HPC. Okay, but this is more about technology. Interestingly, I can give you this example of Cibeltech, which is a French SME working in the area of digital agri-food. So they are application people developing tools, algorithm, applications, studies, using HPC, using artificial intelligence, using big data in this area of digital agri-food. And this we were able to embed in UPEX pilot project aside the technology providers. So it's a good co-design project, and there was room for such a SME in this project. But this is, alas, in my opinion, still not frequent enough. Another example is USEET, which is in another, it is rather a service and tool developer, people who make tools and service to help to facilitate HPC use, in particular for industry or SMEs. And they are in this Heroes project. If you're interested, you can take a look in Cordis or in our handbook. This is very interesting. This is a kind of player I consider very important because they are some kind of go-betweens between end users, large or small industrial end users, and I would say service or cloud or computing cycles providers. So this kind of company is very interesting, and you see it as a small company is the project coordinator. So it's possible. There are opportunities in such Euro HPC area and projects to take important roles for SMEs. But this is an intermediate one. It's not an end user. And we have the example of Partech, a software company developing cluster software stack and tools, taking part in a number of projects. So this is biased. This is ETP4HPC standpoint. Like, yeah, we are more technology oriented, so our members are more technology hardware or software providers, and they are successful partners in a number of projects. But there are other opportunities sometimes, which, in my opinion, are still not frequent enough for more oriented, more end-user oriented companies to take part. Bon. Then let me finish with a comment on what I see and understand from the current Euro HPC landscape. Here, it's very well documented. You have it online on Euro HPC website. And you have a list of recent and now closed or currently open calls. So I will give you a very brief highlight on that. Centers of excellence. Well, typically, this is a follow-up of what was done in Horizon 2020 with very successful big projects like an average 10 to 15 running in parallel on different application areas. And these projects were all coming to an end, and eventually Euro HPC opened a new call in the same spirit, which just closed. So Centers of Excellence, it's about really pushing topical applications or tools to the exascale or to some intermediate scale, I would say, capacity. This is just closed, like closing 1 month ago. We have no specific information on the consortia. It's not public. It's under evaluation. So soon, hopefully, we will know in a few weeks the outcome of the evaluation and selection, and might have more information on who took part in the consortia. My hope, but I just cannot tell, is that a number of SMEs were motivated or solicited or could take part on the application side, use side, in the centers of excellence. That was encouraged in the call, but as of today, I just cannot tell you exactly what will be the statistics. That will be very interesting to observe whether the centers of excellence were a good place, easy to go, attractive for SMEs, end user SMEs in particular, to go and work together with computing centers, scientific communities, or other industrials to push applications, not only to exascale, but to wider usage in general. So this is to be observed in the near future. And we have this one. You may take a look. It's called New Algorithm. It's a very specific call, open, recently open until October. It's new, and it's something, I think it's an experiment EU HPC is doing. They want to foster the development of novel algorithms for exascale. It's very exascale oriented. This is really, I would say, innovative methods, and for the rather high-end extreme computing. So this is a very specific call, like not a big one, like 5 million, which is not small, but it's meant to be a project redistributing, cascading, if you want, money to a number of selected projects of small size. Each could be between, like indicated here, 50 and 200,000 euros. They want to identify, I would say, teams that are able to develop innovative algorithms and solutions, would be supported as third parties with such a grant distributed by the project. So the project would take the money, open some calls from teams able to develop novel algorithms, and would select a number of third-party projects that will have this kind of support for 1, 2, 3 years. I don't know whether this is something interesting for some of the NCCs, partners and players, or some local companies or teams in different countries, especially with an initial perspective. But I really wanted to draw your attention to this. This is to be observed whether this could be opportunities for NCC partners or players. I don't know, actually. I don't know exactly. Maybe you can further investigate, or well, this is only information I wanted to share with you. Centers of competence, open call, no comment. Wish you all the best to you all. I guess preparing now the follow-up of CASTIEL and EuroCC. I know it's really hard work ongoing. All the best and good luck until end of June. There is another one currently open by EU HPC called Expression of interest for the hosting and operation of European quantum computers integrated in HPC supercomputer. This is just open, closing end of June. Okay. This one typically is primarily for computing centers and quantum computing companies, providing qubits and quantum computers or prototypes. Typically European startups or SMEs in this area, and there are quite a number. This is the follow-up in some way of our HPC QS project, which is up and running since end of last year, and which was a precursor. And this project is with Jülich, GENCI and CEA in France, and partners in Italy, Ireland, Spain, etc. The idea is to develop a platform of quantum computing embedded in a computing HPC computing center. So we are already starting this, and the call now open is some follow-up or widening of this. So clearly, this is for big computing centers that have the capacity to host new objects such as emerging quantum computers with a specialized company providing this, and try to develop service or software stacks to try to put HPC and quantum computing work together on solving new problems. So this is probably not something directly for, I would say, industrial users of HPC like SMEs, but here it raises the interest of large industrials, and we have large industrials very interested in, if not participating directly, being able to use those future systems when they become available. And I think there are a number of SMEs or different companies across Europe in all countries that might be interested to experiment on this kind of future platforms. And those projects will be built like HPCQS in such a way that what we will set up, the very experimental sometimes, or quantum computers that will become progressively more mature, hopefully aside HPC platforms, in hybrid mode, we will do our best to make this available to the whole community for everybody to be able to try, experiment this kind of new paradigm. This is what I can say. So not directly maybe for you people from NCCs, this call can be of an interest later on when the resources are set up, when something starts working, which is quite a lot of work ahead. Then you might be interested in having access to that for, I would say, learning, experimenting about quantum computing. That's my message on this one. And this is for what I see as of current open calls, and this is documented on your HPC site. And last point is, and this is extremely quick and preliminary, there will be more calls open in 22 by your HPC. That's still under discussion at the governing board level. REAG and Infrag Advisory Group will have the opportunity to provide input on that, but the calls won't come before the second part of the year, very likely. So this is documented, at least preliminarily. I give you the references. You can find the document as a amendment or preliminary work program 22 adopted by your HPC, blah, blah, blah. You can find it. Huh? It's public on your HPC website. So it mixes the calls we were just commenting that have now been opened and those that might come later on. So I will go here very quickly because I'm not so sure where, as NCCs, you would find an interest and opportunity to find, I would say, resources, funding, etc. It's not so clear to me, but I recommend you to watch or take a look at what is in this document on the following topics. So there is something on open hardware, open software, or this is very technological and forward-looking in terms of computer architecture. So there can be an interest in observing or taking part in such future project, maybe as, I don't know, observers or people who can help benchmark or specify or whatever. But this is really forward-looking. There are two other branches or possible calls coming, which are connected and federated supercomputers. This is about going further in connecting supercomputing and data resources. So this is relatively infrastructure oriented. So I'm not so sure yet of what the role or interest could be for, I would say, end users, in particular in industry. But this is to be monitored and observed. Stay tuned, honestly. And leadership in use and skills, there is a willingness of your HPC to, after EU Master for HPC, to launch another ambitious education and training program, but the definition and borders of what could be done are still extremely fuzzy. So this is really to be worked out by the governing board of your HPC together with the advisory group, and it's still very, very preliminary. If you take a look at the document, each of these calls would be described as a preliminary text or placeholder text of what of 10, 20 lines maybe. So it's really, really very, very preliminary. So I recommend to stay tuned and watch. And what we can do in the meantime is have some dialogue and discussion, and ETP4HPC and our connection to the RIAG and to EU HPC can be, I would say, a vehicle, a channel to collect feedback or recommendations also from you, from the national competence centers. So this is an excerpt of what is about connected and sanitary supervision. You see, it's a very, very general and vague text, and everything has to be defined to turn it into a call. This is really an open question, and this is a work of your HPC board and the advisory group in the coming months. So this is typically all I can tell today as of this topic. Okay. Quick conclusion. Stay tuned. Let's keep in touch. We are open to dialogue. You have a lot of fully available resources from ETP. You can ask questions anytime. Don't hesitate to write to me, to call me, or to go through Myriam, to Marie-Françoise, to your NCC contact for that. We are happy to talk, to share things. Okay. We are happy if it's relevant to organize some more structured dialogue. We have some kind of SME working group. We can use this as something to establish dialogue with the NCCs. Many things are possible. It's up to you, up to us. Okay. And I will finish with that. Some very final advertisement, but it's a mere reminder, because I know Myriam, as far as I understand already, spread the word. Price and ETP4HPC are in the process of driving market studies about different aspects of HPC in Europe with a strong industry focus. And there is part of this multi-dimensional study. There is a small survey ongoing, open until end of May, led by SICOS. And we are still struggling, or they are still struggling to get answers from industry. So please, if not done already, don't hesitate to promote this or to directly participate if you correspond to the profile expected from industry. Voilà, but this has been already circulated. I think, if you have any question, don't hesitate to Myriam, Marie-Françoise, or ETP4HPC on that. And this is online. You can have easy access or take a look.